Let's take a breath. Okay, so here we go. Today's story is about liberating your mental health, yes? And when we think about the concept of liberation, I want to talk to you about powered versus empowered dynamics. So, powered dynamics are inherently oppressive. Yes, here's what I mean by that. When you have a power dynamic, if you can imagine, I've got one hand up and I've got one hand down, right? A power dynamic always suggests that there is a right way to do something and a wrong way to do something. And it is willing to put that other person down or put them in a box in order to make that dynamic stable, right? That power dynamic in order to keep it present and alive. So when we think about powered mental health, what a power dynamic around your mental health might look like is that there is a right way to do mental health and there's a wrong way to do mental health. What that also sounds like is, well, we've got healthy people and we've got unhealthy people. And that if you just can't get your ish together, then clearly something is wrong with you, right? Do you think with that idea of mental health that a lot of people are keen on admitting if they have a challenge with it? Okay, hopefully you are already with me and we know that there's a stigma around mental health. We know that in particular certain communities, but in general, that people have a hard time talking about this right now. Of course, it is so much more talked about now than it was 5-10 years ago, right? In popular spaces now. And so we want to keep that going. So that's a power dynamic, right? There's a right and wrong way to do it, which of course it's shaming, it's oppressing, it leaves people feeling like, I don't know if this is the direction I want to go, right? And they'll end up hiding it. They'll end up not addressing an issue that's present for them because there's so much shame and oppression around it. So that's a power dynamic of mental health. And then we flip the script. Yes. If you can now imagine that my hands are in line with each other in the air, because an empowered dynamic acknowledges multiple truths. It doesn't suggest that there's a right or a wrong. It just says that there's my way and your way and they're different, right? Or there's this way and that way and it's different. And an empowered way of thinking of mental health says, oh, okay, well, I'm going to look at the multiple truths that are present, right? The multiple truths within myself. Am I feeling healthy? Am I feeling solid? Am I feeling like I'm living my best life and I'm vibrant and I'm productive? Or am I noticing a part of my multiple truths is, I go to work and I hate waking up in the morning. I hate going to work all day. I feel so down on myself by the end of the day, right? Or, right, there's so many different truths that could be present. But the primary difference between powered mental health and empowered mental health is powered mental health suggests that there's a right and wrong way to do it, which leaves people feeling shame on occasion. Empowered mental health says there are many different ways to acknowledge what's present and many different ways to deal with it so that you can get to living your best life. You with me still? Powered versus empowered mental health. Now, here's the thing. Most of us have been taught powered mental health. And here is why today's episode is about liberating your mental health. Do you want to exist in a world, genuine question here, do you want to exist in a world where you end up feeling shame because you're struggling with anxiety? How about, do you want to exist in a world where you end up shaming someone else because they're struggling with depression? And those are just two of a bajillion different things that could be affecting a human being and their mental health. Okay, just two. And there's a huge spectrum for those as well, right? Nothing is a monolith. So if you are about liberating your mental health from that power dynamic, if you are saying, yes, Nina, yes, Nina, yes, Nina, I want to be able to liberate my mental health. I want to be able to own my multiple truths without oppressing myself. I don't want to feel shame for my struggle right now. I just want to deal with it, which means I've got to acknowledge my truths, right? And oh, yes, Nina, Nina, I want to liberate my mental health by also saying, I don't want to shame somebody else for their mental health struggles. I don't want to put them down and oppress them. I want to own my truth without oppressing myself. And I want to let them own their truths without oppressing them. You with me? I hope that you are still with me. Okay. Powered mental health versus empowered mental health. And we are all going to be about liberating that mental health. Okay. So take another breath in. If you are not clear on what this looks like, let me give you an example, because here we are, folks, the story time. Story time is going to go like this today. There are so many different examples of powered versus empowered mental health dynamics that I could share with you. There are many different examples of powered versus empowered medical procedures, laws, ways of engaging with people. I want you to imagine one in particular, and this is a true story. I was up in New York. I was on the subway. Don't remember where I was heading at the time, but it was at the end of the day. Full packed train, lots of people. People are tired, you can tell. People are ending their work days, right? There's a weariness and a heaviness. And at this particular point, it's not a bunch of people talking. It's like, it's quiet. Everybody's just packed in there, right? And I say quiet for a New York subway. There's like a stillness to it, like don't disrupt it, right? Don't be disruptive to my subway time right now. And that was my experience of it, at least. And so I'm there standing. I've got a pole in my hand. There's another woman on the pole. There's several people sitting down, obviously. And a man walks in and he lays himself down on the subway, like takes up the whole seat, the floor area right there. And he's talking to himself and he's laying down. And the woman looks at me and she says, with disdain and disgust, she shakes her head and she sneers and she says, "Can you believe we have to deal with this? Believe we have to deal with this." And I look at her and I say, imagine how he feels. And we didn't speak after that. But even in that less than 5-second conversation, I'm sure, with what you now know about power dynamics versus empowered dynamics, when we're thinking about mental health, we have two women, right, standing on the subway, presumably of sound mind and body, right? Very privileged to have a healthy state of mental health, at least in that moment, right? We were able to connect with each other and be safe and all that jazz. And then we have presumably another human being who is speaking with himself, laying down on the train, appeared in many senses to be houseless. And I would ascribe definitely struggling with mental health, right? Does not have the privilege of the mental health that these two women have, at least in this moment. And so the minute that she says, "Can you believe we have to deal with this?" you can feel that she is looking down on him. And that is how we know that there is a power dynamic present. The privilege to look down on someone else, even for their mental health. And here is where I want you to take a breath in, because many of us have done this. And I don't want to shame you for it. I don't want to shame you for it. I want you to come from an empowered lens, and I want you to ask yourself, why would I have said that? Where is that coming from? And is that how I want to show up in the world? That's it. Where's that coming from? Is it my insecurity, my fear, my weariness? At the end of my day, am I vulnerable? Did I struggle with mental illness? Did somebody else in my family, right? Where is that coming from? That thought, that idea, that power dynamic around mental health that says I should put somebody else down when they're not doing well. And am I okay with it? Because if you're not okay with it, then let's flip the script on it, my friends. Yes, we're nearing the end of the episode. And I'm wondering, what is your takeaway around this very simple concept of powered versus empowered dynamics around mental health? If we were to empower that moment, that is an effort of what I tried to do, like imagine how he feels, right? I didn't shame her in it, although she might have felt ashamed or guilt afterward. I did not shame her. What I did was I offered some perspective, which I imagine was helpful for both of us. Right. I absolutely could have jumped in on that and been like, yeah, right. Like, what a nuisance. And also, right, it's not really affecting my day. This isn't long term for me. This is somebody else's life, right? And in this moment, this is just the intersection of our lives meeting, and we will pass, we will part ways. So, to wrap this story, to wrap this episode, of course, like I said, I'm wondering what you're sitting with. Go to Instagram and hit me up at Trauma Therapist Nina. I want to know, what are your thoughts around powered versus empowered dynamics in mental health? Are you living a powered life? Are you living an empowered life? Yeah. Empowered can acknowledge multiple truths. It doesn't feel the need to oppress itself, and it doesn't feel the need to oppress other people. Okay. So, after you hit me up on Instagram and let me know where you're at, Drama Therapist Nina. For those of you who enjoy a bit of self exploration, you know that I want to leave you with a thought, a question, something to percolate on, right, for the upcoming week. And here it is. I want you to ask yourself, quite genuinely, am I engaging in a powered and oppressive mental health dynamic with myself or with others? Am I putting myself down? Am I putting other people down for their mental health? Or am I actively working on liberating myself from that powered and oppressive dynamic? Am I actively working on liberating my mental health, which means I am empowering myself and others to own their truths without oppressing? Without oppressing. That is us getting our empowerment on. That is us liberating mental health. That's what it takes. Yeah, we've got to get out of that power dynamic whenever possible. It's a skill, y'all. We are not born with this. We've got to practice it, but practice it we can. I have invited you to lean in, and I will be leaning in myself, of course, in your next episode. We are going to be talking about projection, okay? Projection, projecting your emotions, projecting your thoughts, projecting all that jazz on somebody else. But for today, we are wrapping this episode. So take your question with you. Are you liberating that mental health? How can that be an area for growth for you, for yourself, and for other people in your life? Otherwise, that is what we planned for today. So if this was helpful, if you gained anything from this episode, the best thing you can do to support Triggered, Can We Play With That, is to just share the episode. Tag someone in it, link them to it, let them know what you heard, let them know your thoughts on liberating mental health this month. Yes, yes. Otherwise, stay curious.
Welcome to Triggered. Can we play with that? You know that moment when your emotions ramp up in an instant, leaving you feeling helpless, frozen, or out of control? In that moment, you've been emotionally hijacked, the very definition of triggered. And I want to ask you, can we play with that? I'm Nina L. Garcia, drama therapist and empowerment coach of Houston Creative Arts Therapy. Join me as we discover ways to empower you and the people who mean the most to you to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Triggered. Real playful. Real respectful. Real empowered.
Hey you, Nina here. You are officially listening to Triggered. Can we play with that wherever you get your podcasts? And it is May. May is upon us. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And while I have been inviting you to lean in every week on that very particular topic, right? Every month this year, I am not going to be doing that anymore. What? I know. Here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm still going to tell you what our topic is for the month. We're still going to have that. We are still going to have some episodes that help us lean in on triggers around that topic, lean in on how can we enhance our relationship with that topic and our understanding of that topic. However, so many of you and I myself have really been yearning to get back to those triggered stories that were exceptionally heightened, that really help us deal with really triggering material and may not necessarily be about what our topic is in that month. I missed it. You missed it. We're going back to it. Yeah. So again, the topic for this month is mental health awareness. So we are going to be working on stories around how to empower that. Today's story in particular is going to be inviting you to liberate your mental health. And if you don't know what I mean, then keep listening in. Because if you are into anything that has to do with anti-oppression and you are into destigmatizing mental health, then this is going to be that short, sweet episode that says, hey, here's how we might work on that. Let's talk about liberating your mental health. Yeah? Yeah. So grab a friend, grab a journal, however you're going to want to process through this episode, and really make sure that you're taking in the material. Yes, I'm so growth oriented. You all know this. I want you to take the information and run with it. I want you to use it. I want you to shift your lives. Yes, yes. Okay, last but not least, you know that we deal with triggers, so there might be some triggering material in this episode. However, we're not going to be dealing with everything around that trigger, right? It's just going to be one facet. That's how we lean in and then we get back to where we feel safe. Yeah? Yeah. I think I've said yeah like 4 times. I think that's a record for me. So I'm going to work on that area for growth. Meanwhile, my invitation to you is to take a breath in and ask yourself, are you ready to play?